Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 37 of the Baptize Machine podcast. We got a very, very exciting episode for you today. The Wall Street Bitch will hopefully be joining us soon. Then he may have to leave early for a little Blink 182 concert. But in the meantime, I'm going to get the show started. I do have the I voted sticker on my microphone because we are in election season right now. And we're going to kind of just look very local right now at kind of the Colorado primaries, which are pretty interesting. Lauren Bobert, as you may have known, almost lost 2 years ago. So she switched districts and ended up winning in the district where she ran, District 4. If we look at the map, looking at District 4, it's kind of like eastern Colorado. She literally used to be all over here in western Colorado. So it makes no sense she moved over there. She doesn't know those people at all. She's a business owner in western Colorado. I think once they get to know her, they probably will not reelect her at either. She did only get 43% of the vote, so she didn't even get a majority because there's 3 other candidates running, I believe. Another shout out I want to do is to Valdemar Archuleta. Valdemar won it. He was uncontested, 11,000 votes. Diane DeJet, also uncontested. 0% ratings is pretty wild. But Valdemar is going to need to step it up and get like another 70,000 votes if he's going to be able to come close to beating her. Adam Frisch was the guy who was predicted to beat Lauren Bobert if she was elected again. That's why this other Republican won there. And then the other race is Joe Neguse represents kind of Boulder County, who's uncontested, as well as his Republican opponent, but they're much closer than Valdemar and Diane, possibly indicating that the Denver area is actually more conservative than the Boulder area. So yeah, we have tonight there's a debate, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Joe Biden refused to take a drug test, so people are freaking out on Twitter about why didn't Biden take this drug test? Why didn't he take it? And you know, who really cares? They've never had drug tests before any other debates. And do people really think that Trump would pass a drug test? Like, or does Sudafed not count? Is Donald Trump addicted to Sudafed? Because that's what I've heard before in the past. I also wonder what Joe Biden would be addicted to. And here he is. Here's the Wall Street Bitch. What's up, Wall Street Bitch?
What's up?
We were
What were
just
you just
going.
talking about?
I was just going over the election results here. I could show you again. Our boy Valdemar, look, he's like got 11,000 votes. I mean, he was uncontested for the primaries that just happened. But then, can you see this? Diane
Yeah.
DeJet got 78,000 votes. Who he'll be running against, and Valdemar only got 11,000. So he's got like another
So you got
70,000 to
crushed.
get. Well, this is just a primary, so then they go against each other in November when the presidential election is. Mm-hmm. So this was for like
And
the
what?
Republican nomination. And Lauren Bobert, she switched districts. Like she went to District 4 and she got the nomination. But literally, she used to be over here in like Western Colorado, and she went to this district because she wasn't going to be able to win that other one. And she still only got
She moved her.
43% of the vote. I guess so. She just changed districts. And then the
How did
Boulder
she
dude's
win?
uncontested. I don't know. I mean, people just like her Beetlejuice story, dude. It's a comeback story.
What's her Beetlejuice story?
She got a hand job going to see the Beetlejuice play, and it got caught on video.
Let me look that up.
Yeah, it's
And what's
pretty
his
good.
face lost too?
Sorry, what was that?
Hernandez.
Oh yeah, Timmy Hamas Hernandez lost as well. My old neighbor. Yeah, I'm not surprised he lost. Kind of like a lot of also that guy, Dave Williams, the guy who said God hates Pride or whatever, the Colorado GOP guy, he lost his race too to like a more moderate Republican. So a lot of the extremists, I think, across the nation, but even in Colorado, we're losing it on both ends, like extreme liberals and extreme conservatives. But anyway, today we're gonna have on Heidi Ganahl. She just messaged me saying she'll be on soon. She used to be the regent for CU. She ran against Governor Polis in 2022. She owns Camp Bow Wow, which is like a very large dog boarding facility across Colorado. Yeah, she does a lot. So she works in higher ed. She's run for governor. She also has a podcast called like Heidi Unleashed or something. Here's her intro video. Oh wait, hold on. I always forget to hit that one button. But she should be joining any second now. Have you looked her up at all? Do you remember when she ran against Polis? I think she got late. She like didn't deny the election, but she didn't confirm it either when Trump got elected. So she was like kind of labeled an election denier.
She's a Trump supporter.
She was. I haven't seen anything about her in the news really in the past year or so I'm not sure. But I assume she supports him over Joe Biden. She's a founder of the Rocky Mountain Voice, which is like a conservative-leaning Colorado newspaper.
We should start with that.
The Rocky Mountain Voice and the media. Yeah, I'd like that. I like that.
She's voting for.
Who she's voting for? Yeah. After we give her time, let's let her introduce herself as always. But yeah, I think this will be a good interview. We have some awesome guests that we might be having come up soon in the near future. Pearl Davis might be coming on. So shout out to you, Pearl. We'd love to have you on our show.
Interview.
Yeah. That'd be a really good one. The Oklahoma state superintendent for education just said that they have to teach the Bible in school. All right.
Isn't that illegal?
Yeah. I don't know. Heidi's going to join. Hey, Heidi.
Hi, how are you guys?
We got a little delay here.
Thanks. Right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, once I'm just closing out a few things, so this will help, I think. All right, we should be good now.
I can hear you.
Yep.
Hello.
I can hear you. Hello, Heidi. Thanks for coming on.
You're
the
very
Baptize Machine. Yeah.
I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on. I'm Hans. This is the Wallstreet Bitch. I primarily know about you through that you were on the CU Regents like until last year, I think, and when you ran against Governor Polis in 2022, and also that you're the founder of the Camp Bow Wow boarding camp. But I'd love for you to kind of give your own introduction. That's usually how we let our guests start, and kind of where you're at now and what you're working on now as well.
Sure. Well, it's great to be on, you guys. I'm best known as the Camp Bow Wow founder. It's a franchise company for doggy daycare and overnight boarding facilities. There's a couple hundred of them around the country. I love dogs. I always did my whole life, but I was also very entrepreneurial. And so I started the first Camp Bow Wow in 2000, almost 25 years ago, with my first husband. Right after my first husband passed away in a plane crash when I was 27. And obviously that changed my life pretty dramatically. And we'd written up this business plan for this cool business with dogs. And a few years later, my younger brother, who's about 7 years younger, helped me out with starting it out. And I was pretty lost at the time. I was a mess from the whole crash and losing him. And Patrick, my younger brother, was awesome. He stepped in and was like, we got to get your mojo back. So let's see if we can't get that business started. And we started in an old Veterans of Foreign War Hall just south of downtown Denver, across from Herman's Hideaway. And it was, doggy daycare wasn't really a thing back then. A lot of people were like, you're doing what? Like, you're babysitting dogs? I was like, yes. And it's a lovely thing. but we were able to build the business pretty big. And then I started franchising in 2003 and then built it up to about 80 franchises until 2008 when the market crashed and all heck broke loose. So I almost lost the business there. It was a really crazy time, but we eked it out. And at the same time, I got set up on a blind date. I'd been single for a long time and was, still pretty lost on that front. But I got set up on this blind date with my husband, who's now my husband, Jason. And that was in 2007. And we ended up getting married. And I already had Tori, who was she was 12 or 13 at the time. And then I had Jason and I had Holly, who's now almost 15. And the twins, we tried for a third one and got the twins, Jack and Jenna, who are 12. And so that's why I ended up selling the business, Camp Bow Wow, back in 2014, because I had a 3-year-old, twin babies, and a teenager, and was a bit overwhelmed with everything, trying to make the business work also. But at the same time, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like you have to put your family first at a certain point. I was wondering, have you ever heard of Rover.com? And did that impact your business at all as a rival, or did you sell it before? I forget when they came about. So.
Well, funny enough, I had a kind of a partnership worked out with Aaron, the founder and CEO of Rover at the time, just as I was selling the business. But the business, I sold it to VCA, the big veterinary chain, and the head of VCA was on the board of Dog Vacay, which was Rover's original competitor. And so he wouldn't let me close the deal. And I think Rover just sold for what, like $2 billion or something. I was like, that was a misstep.
We all make them.
But that's a great business.
This is great to know. I actually just texted the Camp Bow Wow website to my girlfriend because we're looking for a doggy daycare. So I'll check it out. It looks like a great place.
It's so fun. One of the best things my brother did for the business, we fired each other like 3 or 4 times. And so he ended up going off and doing his thing, which was sound engineering. But he created the idea for a webcam in the play yards. And this was back in 2001 before anybody knew what a webcam was.
Mm-hmm.
And so he put this X10 camera up on a stick and it took pictures of the dogs every 60 seconds and posted to this thing called the internet. And we had a website, and that was like pretty big deal back then. And people loved it.
Genius. Yeah.
Now it's like 16 high definition cameras. You can see like the hairs on the dogs. It's crazy. But it's been a big part of who we are and how Camp Bow Wow grew. It got so popular.
Awesome. So when did you start getting involved in politics? Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? And have you always been Colorado focused?
So I got involved in politics when I got so ticked off that the government kept getting in the way of growing Camp Bow Wow in the business. It started with like zoning meetings and local officials being really, stingers about letting us put Camp Bow Wows in industrial parks. And then as we grew the franchise company, federally, the federal government started intervening and making it harder and harder to build a franchise company. And so I got connected to Job Creators Network, which was founded by Bernie Marcus, the guy who started Home Depot. And it was kind of like the business chamber of commerce on steroids. So he wanted to help small business owners learn how to fight back against the government and tyranny. And so I volunteered for them, and I ended up being the chair of the board after a few years, which was awesome. And they really taught me how to politically get engaged and protect small business owners. At the same time, I was on the board of directors for the University of Colorado Foundation, which runs their big endowment, and also on the business school board at CU Boulder, because I'm a Buff and I love CU.
Go Buffs, me too.
It's going to be a fun year.
It should be. Yeah, hopefully we have a good football season.
I think it will be. There's a lot of naysayers, but I love the idea of Dion being here and kind of shifting the whole narrative with CU football. We can do a whole podcast on CU football.
Yeah, we could.
So anyway, my worlds all kind of collided. Somebody was like, you should run for regent. I'm like, what the heck is a regent? What do they do? And
that was one of my questions. I have no idea what they do. So I'd love to know.
So the Regent Board is like the board of directors for the university system, not just Boulder, but Denver, Colorado Springs, and CU Anschutz, the medical center. And we're one of only 4 states that elects our board of regents. So we have to actually run a political race to be on the Board of Regents. You don't get paid anything for it. It's all volunteer. It's a lot of work, but it's a great position. You do get all access passes to football and basketball games, and you get free parking passes. So that's kind of cool.
What would you say the like political decisions you make as a regent are, where that's why they make you run for it, or is it really not a political position in your mind?
Well, it is a political position. It shouldn't be, but it's very political. When I ran in 2016, people said, "Oh, it's not going to be a big deal. Nobody pays attention to the regent race." Well, after a couple of weeks when I stepped into the race, Alice Madden jumped in against me, who's one of the most formidable Democrat women politicians of the last 2 decades. She was the Speaker of the House, and she was one of the crafters of the blueprint, the big, initiative with Jared Polis to take over the 4 billionaires taking over Colorado, which they've been very successful at.
Wait, could you go back and explain that? We're actually both we're in our early 30s now, and we moved here. Like I moved here when I was 18, so we're both transplants from the East Coast.
Yeah.
So could you, where we grew up, where it was blue our whole lives, but could you explain the takeover? Because I feel like it was a little more Republican leaning before, and I actually used to teach in parachute in Rifle, Colorado, which is a totally different place than Boulder or Denver. So
yeah. That's Congresswoman Lauren Bobert's hometown.
Yeah. What was Denver red in the past? Was there a shift like over the last 10 years?
Yeah, actually 20 years ago, it was completely flip-flopped. The Republicans had everything. And what happened is, I think some Republican legislators tried to pass an anti-gay marriage law, or I can't remember what it was. It was a statute, a law, and it really ticked off Tim Gill and a couple other people, Jared Polis, and they decided to transform Colorado. These 4 billionaires, Pat Stryker, I think the other guy's name was Rep Bridges, or I can't remember, and then Jared Polis. And they all got together and created this plan to take over Colorado and to turn it blue. And they were very effective. They created lots of different nonprofits, and they brought in Ted Trimpa, who helped navigate all of this. There's a book called The Blueprint that is really interesting. It's not a super long read, but it kind of exposes how all this was done. And then they made a movie out of it called Rocky Mountain Heist that you can still watch on YouTube if anybody wants to learn more about it.
Rocky Mountain Heist.
Wow, that's fascinating. I did not realize that. Wow.
Yeah. Jared Polis' plan to take over Colorado and probably to take over America as president is historic.
Wow.
Sorry, I thought you had asked a question, Hans, but
no, I was just thinking, like, it makes me think, like, how much money have they spent over the past 20 years, do you think? And then also, it just reminds me, because, like, personally, I like to judge a person individually as who they are and lean more libertarian than towards either party.
Yeah.
But what do you think about, like, Rep Dave Williams? He just lost his race, but he was the head of the GOP, and he was just saying unnecessary, hateful things about, LGBT or gay people too. And it's like, he's just repeating what happened 20 years ago then, in my mind, or do you see it differently?
No, I think that was pretty terrible. And I don't support that at all. In fact, Valdemar Archuleta is one of my good friends. He's running for Congress in CD1, which is Denver, and he's gay. And
he's awesome. He's talked to us twice, so he's a great guy.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Yeah, he came over here, like, in person once, and the dogs were jumping all over him. He's the nicest man ever. Yeah.
The true essence of what I believe our conservative movement in Colorado is about is individual, like, rugged individualism. It's about letting you live your life the way you want to live it and honoring that. It's the wild, wild west. It's the new frontier. Like, it's literally taking power away from the government and giving it back to the individual. It's very libertarian. And so I think it's very counteractive what he did and what he's doing. And he's paying the price for that. Like, the conservatives stood up Tuesday night and said, that's not who we are. Like, you don't represent our values and our views. And so I think a lot of us, I mean, I have so many gay friends from building Camp Bow Wow. Many of our franchisees were LGBTQ, and I just we need to come from a place of love and making our tent bigger, not smaller. And
Yeah.
we focus on individual rights. Like, that's the right to love who you want. That's the right to be who you want. It's the right to live without the government getting in our face. And that's where I come from. And it's very libertarianish, right? And the fact that Jared Polis our governor tries to say he's libertarian is laughable. Like, he has grown the size of government by a tremendous amount. He's hired more bureaucrats and put in more rules and regulations in his 7 years he's been in office than any other governor in our history. So it's a total scam.
And that's why I think it's so important that you come from a business background, because I feel like we need more representatives that have a business mindset and business perspective. Have you seen over the past 10 years, as Denver has turned so liberal, has that hindered the economy or business growth in any substantial way? Or what would you change to sort of get the economy going again?
Yeah, I think it's fundamentally changed things for the worse for business owners. I mean, I started Camp Bow Wow almost 25 years ago, and I couldn't do it in today's environment with all the rules, the regulations, the programs they've added in, the fees, the requirements. It's just become so just burdensome. And it makes me so sad. It's part of why I ran for governor. I'm like, unleash the economy, unleash small business owners, unleash entrepreneurs to create jobs and create a vibrant economy, instead of just layering on more bureaucracy and more rules and more taxes. That does nothing to grow the economy here. In fact, more and more businesses are leaving Colorado because they can't keep up with all the rules and all the suffocating bureaucracy that's keeping them from growing and building their business here. So I would do a lot of things differently. In my governor's race, I committed to going to zero income tax in Colorado over my 2 terms, 8 years. I committed to reducing the size of the bureaucracy here by 40% over my term, so 10% a year in the first term, and just really taking a sledgehammer to the amount of government layers that have been built here that have taken away from our ability to live a free life and to do things, raise our family, build our business, do the things that we all want to do here, which is why so many people moved here. And the fact that they vote for more of the opposite is just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. Well, it was good to see, like, Tim Hernandez didn't get real. He actually lived below me. He lived below me, and he had us blocked on Twitter.
Seriously?
But and I'm like, dude, I could have voted for you if you just had a conversation with me. Like, I probably wouldn't agree with you, but if you were nice, like, I would have been like, oh, I like him. I'll vote for it. Yeah. But nope. Yeah. Like, yeah. Up.
So
yeah, it's good to see the extreme lose. Sorry, go on, Wall Street.
I was just going to say, besides like the blueprint and the blue takeover, why is the majority of Colorado now so liberal? When there's, do you have any?
He froze.
Oh, I'm frozen.
Oh, now we can hear you. Go on.
Sorry, I was just wondering if you have any thoughts on why Colorado has gotten so liberal, besides the blueprint plan. It seems like, and this is with a lot of states, there has been so much regulation that states are slowly dying. I mean, we see it in California. It's happening here. Why are people so? I don't want to use the word brainwashed, but do the Republicans have like a messaging issue, or what do you see? Like, how do we reach new voters?
So here's the thing. On my governor's race, I'll use that as an example. My message was around kids, crime, and cost of living. I wanted to reduce the size of the cost of living by letting the free market do its thing and reducing bureaucracy and taxes. I wanted to protect kids and give parents more rights and authority over how to raise their children and not have those taken away, and also focus on school choice so that kids that were stuck in the machine could get out. Only 5% of Black and brown kids in Denver can read and write and do math at grade level.
Wow.
That's bad.
Yeah, and I
So
know
anyway,
Polis's kids go to a private school that costs about $70,000 a semester. So
yeah, they
yeah,
do. And so he has school choice because he can pay
yeah,
for it. And then the third thing is crime, like just reining in crime, addressing homelessness, using law and order to get back some semblance of society. So crime, kids, and cost of living. Those messages resonate with voters, but here's what happens. The Democrats have so much money and such a machine here, and they own the liberal media, that you cannot get your word out. Every time you do an interview with Kyle Clark or the Denver Post, you look at the headline, you're like, wait, what are they doing? We didn't even talk about that. Like Heidi's an election denying MAGA, anti LGBTQ hater.
yeah.
And I'm
You
like,
you were really framed that way. Upon meeting you now versus what I saw about you 2 years ago, you were framed as a much more like intense, aggressive person than how you're coming off. To be totally honest, so it's
thank
crazy
you.
how the
Well, that's
media
what they
does
do.
that. Yeah,
That's how they
yeah.
frame every Republican.
Yeah, and then what happens, you guys, is they have so much money. Like he spent over $30 million to squish me like a bug on the airwaves. We had 3 million. So what happens is the minute the ballots drop, all these terrible ads go up and these flyers come out to define you. And if you only have $1 million or $2 million, you can't fight back against that. And there's no time to do it because they wait till 3 weeks before the election and they spend literally $20 million to just bury you. And the ads were so ridiculous, you guys. They were, Heidi's going to put women and doctors in jail. And I'm like, I have a pretty moderate stance on abortion. I said to people, I will not sign a bill that changes abortion law. I will always send it back to the people for a vote. I will honor whatever you decide. I am pro-life with exceptions, but I'm also respectful of the fact that we've got to work with the voters of Colorado and not go crazy. Now, do I believe that? And Jared Polis would not address this. It's like, so you believe it's okay to abort a baby until its birthday? I don't think the people of Colorado feel that way, but they don't know. They don't know that that's the law. So anyway, they do these ads, and all of a sudden I'm in the grocery store and people are coming up like, I can't believe you're going to put women and doctors in jail. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never said that. And then the media plays along with it. So you've got the media storm and you've got the tremendous amount of money they're doing the ads with. And then they've got 4,000 paid workers that door knock and go talk to people and collect ballots to turn in that are using those same messages. So you've got an incredible force against you as a conservative candidate. And they just beat the snot out of you with whatever message they want to use against you.
And yeah, it's just so
We
wild
did hear
because
from Valdemar that you have a cat now, so I don't know.
Too.
he thought we thought you were a dog person. That's what he said.
I'm an equal opportunity pet lover. My cats run the house, you guys. They run the dogs, and they're big dogs, like 2 big dogs.
yeah,
No,
cats are smart.
Yeah, it's I love all animals.
I find it fascinating because the Democratic Party and liberalism has always been painted as the party of the people, not where the money is. And that has totally flipped. Now all the big money is being pumped into the left. Have you, are we sort of just, have the party sort of flipped to a certain extent besides a couple of solid issues? Because it really feels like all the corporate weight and lobbying are behind Democrats, and Republicans are sort of fighting for the little guy now. Or was that just my perception of the parties 15 years ago?
No, I think you're spot on, Wall Street. I think you nailed it. It's really flipped and so now the rich liberal whites run the Democrat Party, and we're the party of ragtag. Everybody kind of get together and push back against the establishment. And I think that's why, I love hanging out with my friends who are libertarian, whether it's Forrest Mommy or Hannah, those guys, because we can all agree that the government is not doing anything well right now, and they have way too much power, and we need to push back against that. And so if you just make the argument between force or freedom, all the party crap goes away. Like, who believes in force and who believes in freedom? More and more, the conservative movement and the libertarian movement believe in freedom, and the Democrats want more and more government, more and more taxes, more and more rules and regulations about what you can or can't do, and taking away more and more rights from parents and other people to put this label on themselves that they're about force. So I think even tonight when you watch the debate, pay attention to that. Like, ask yourself, like, why do the Democrats, why does Joe Biden want to control us so much? Why do they want to have more rules, more regulations, more bureaucracy? Why does Trump think that it's better to just, cut back on that and give people more power back to themselves? I think that's the contrast.
What do you think about the 2-minute delay during the debate? That's like they like that kind of changes things a lot.
Oh, you guys,
Is
they are
that
doing
normal,
everything.
No.
I mean,
No.
especially in today's day and age, like with live tweeting and stuff, like, come on, give me a break. They are doing everything they can to hamstring Trump.
And they're also hamstringing social media commentary. I heard that CNN was going after some right-wing platforms that were going to stream the event and fact check it,
Yeah.
which is just crazy. But this is a good segue into the presidential race and the debate. Obviously, I'm assuming you're voting for Trump. If you could pick anyone to represent the Republican Party right now, would it be Trump or who would it be? Do you think he's like a really good fit, or would you rather have someone else?
We need a street fighter right now, and Trump has proven himself to be a street fighter, and he's not going to let him get away with like fuzzy talking points and being very corporate and smooth. People are tired of that. That's, I think, why a lot of the other candidates didn't do well. And here's the thing. This goes back to what we talked about a little earlier, that Americans care about fairness. They want things to be fair. And what's happened to Trump is not fair. The lawfare, the way the media treats him, it's not fair. And so I think that's what's rising up this movement. And I think people are really ticked off about how things have played out. And that's what you're seeing, like this buildup of momentum behind him is like, screw the establishment, screw the powers that be, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. He has his issues, but he's our fighter. He's our guy that's going to go to the mat for us and get bloody.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like the Republicans really need someone with a backbone. And I think just because of the amount of money and power that is fighting against them. And hopefully the American people can, and I think they are, see this through a non-biased lens. I mean, look where we're at right now. We're in like 3 or 4 wars. And to me, that's the biggest issue to me. Like, I don't want to vote for Biden because he's gotten us into all these wars. Do you believe Trump when he says
pretty much he's going to finish by saying
wars in one day? What? Oh, did I freeze?
Do you think Trump can? Yeah, did you think Trump can end the wars in one day?
Well, I certainly think he can make good progress ending it. Yeah, I think it depends on who he surrounds himself with. When he's reelected, I hope he puts people that are much less like the people he did the first time. And granted, it was crazy. Like, it was a crazy time. He had never done this before. Now he knows what to do. He knows to put the right people around him that are not going to do things behind his back and, stab him in the back. So I think it's about his team. I think it's going to be really interesting to see who he picks for vice president. I think that's going to happen tonight, potentially.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. Yeah.
Who do you think he's going to pick?
Go ahead.
I've really noticed. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've noticed Trump's demeanor change this time around. I think he's more calm, cool, collected, and I think he is listening to his team, and I think he will bring in the right people this time. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I know some of the people that are building his team, and I'm very impressed. I like them a lot. I've been working a lot with folks in Texas on this project that I'm working on, the Road to Red project here in Colorado, in Rocky Mountain Voice. and they know the inner team that's being built, and they're a bunch of badasses. They'll get the job done. And one of the things that Americans want is for us to be out of these stupid situations that we don't have to be in internationally, and taking a stand for the American people instead of everyone else. Like, Americans are ready to be, to have their families put first.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
curious.
that's good to hear.
Just to get back to Colorado politics, because like Lauren Bobert, she makes no sense to me, because she says, I don't think she actually represents like anyone in Colorado, because she literally moved from one end of the state to the other because she probably would have lost to that other guy. Thoughts? That's it.
So I live in CD4, where Lauren is running now. I've traveled this state all over. CD4 and CD3, where she was, are very similar in a lot of ways. It's basically the eastern rural Colorado and the western rural Colorado. Again, people want a fighter. They want no nonsense. They want somebody to go to DC and just take a sledgehammer and tear down the system. And Lauren's proven that she does that. There's, regardless of some of the drama that's gone on, we know how she's going to vote. There's no question about how she's going to vote. And so I think that's why conservatives feel very comfortable checking that box. And I've gotten to know Lauren. I think the media just does a terrible job of misrepresenting her in a lot of ways. And I had that same thing happen to me, so I have a lot more grace. And so I see it a little differently. And I've met her kids, her grandbaby. So I think don't believe everything you read in the media. She loves this country. She really wants to do the right things for America and for CD4 or CD3. She generally just sees it as Colorado and representing Colorado. So, instead of, I would say, look at how she votes and try and take the drama layer off. And I think you'll be pretty happy with how that plays out.
I might have a personal bias, because years ago I went to her restaurant, Shooters, and it was just the slowest service ever. Like, took me over half an hour to get scrambled eggs and toast or something. But you don't want to ask anyone where your food is, because they're all carrying guns in the restaurant. So it was wasn't the best. That's like the only actual criticism I have, and that's from personal firsthand experience. So yeah.
Well, my husband owns restaurants, so I can relate, man. Those it's hard to manage teams at the restaurants, and sometimes they don't always do what you want them to do or provide the service you want. But I think I get what you're saying. I understand. Hopefully you have a good experience with your dogs, you guys, if you go to Camp Bow Wow. Even though I don't own it anymore, I care deeply about the reputation and wanting my baby to live on forever and take good care of puppy dogs.
Awesome.
Yeah, it looks like a great place. So are you running for governor again in 2027?
It would be 26.
26.
And
26. Okay.
Yeah. Haven't decided anything, but good Lord, we have a lot of work to do before any Republican can win statewide in Colorado. The good news is I learned firsthand what the issues are and why we're not winning and how we would turn things around and what we need to do to win. And that's what I'm focused on right now. Regardless of whether I run again, I want to rebuild the conservative movement in Colorado. And when I say conservative, I mean conservatives, libertarians, anyone who cares more about freedom than force. I want to rebuild the freedom movement. Let's say that here in Colorado. And that's what I do. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a job creator. I'm like, I love building things and I love solving problems. So I by going through that race, I was teed up to be the right person to be able to rebuild behind the scenes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear. I'm sorry, go ahead, Hans.
I would say who would you say are the strongest elected GOP officials right now within Colorado, like statewide or on a federal level?
Yeah, I don't think you hear much about them because the media doesn't cover it. The liberal media does. We do at Rocky Mountain Voice, and I want everyone to go to RockyMountainVoice.com.
Oh, yeah, we wanted to ask about that more too. Yeah, your newspaper, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a news platform, and we're unabashedly right of center. Like, we don't apologize for it, and we think we need that in balance here in Colorado. But I would say Rose Pugliese is our minority leader in the Capitol. She does a great job. She's a fighter, and she's very good at getting things done. And I mean, you've got Lauren, and then you've got Let's see. Congressman Lamborn's had it out. Ken Buck bailed on us, which is not good. And I'm trying to think of some other good folks that still play and like kind of lead behind the scenes. And a lot of them ran for office this last go around. So I hope everybody stays involved and stays vocal and wants to keep working, because it's really easy to just say, oh, that sucked. I did not like losing. I want to sit on the couch and just check out. And a lot of people do that have run, but we need all hands on deck. And everybody had their group of followers that ran, and I would encourage all of them to stay involved and engaged. Got to do that.
What do you think Dave Williams' angle was on the whole, like, God hates pride? Like, is he just an asshole, or did he like think that was a good idea to get votes? Like, I don't like. What's your take there?
No, I think it was more about how the portion of the LGBTQ movement is trying to convince our children to do things that we don't feel comfortable with. And I just think it wasn't presented the right way. But and Vlad agrees with this. Like, knock it off. This doesn't represent who we are in the LGBT movement. And they've taken it too far with a lot of the drag shows and what's happening in the classrooms and the focus on transitioning kids. A lot of that's not okay with many of us. Like, it's like, you do your thing, you live your life, but do not try and convince our children that they're not who we believe they are. And many of us of faith believe it's wrong to tell a child that they were born in the wrong body. We have a lot of empathy for kids going through struggles and trying to figure out their path forward, but the way that movement approaches it is very tough for a lot of people to stomach.
Yeah, have you had experience with as a mom with your children being exposed to that from their teachers or in school or from other parents?
Oh yeah, I mean, my twins are 12 and my other one's going to be 15, so not so much with the 28-year-old, but it's everywhere. It's a constant conversation and using pronouns and trying to be empathizing, but also we're Christians. We have strong faith. So trying to walk that line and figuring out how to navigate that with my children is a big, big challenge. But I just try and come at it from love and a place of, you have to respect everyone's perspectives about themselves. And if somebody asks you to call them a name or a specific pronoun, then honor that and it's okay, and come from a place of love, but it doesn't mean that you have to believe that same thing.
Yeah, just be respectful. I think like a lot of the Republicans are just kind of shooting themselves in the foot by just crying about this whole trans thing. And really, I mean, I'm sure there are these extreme examples, but also it's like they're all Catholic, and you look at the Catholic Church, it's like, oh shit, there's a lot more examples of bad priests than there are bad trans people. So I think like they just got to stop complaining about it and let it work itself out, because right now it's just like it just seems like a bullshit cry almost, which is, I don't know, it's like,
yeah, Hans, I think it just goes to this line, like, you go do whatever you want to, but don't put that on our kids. Like, honor our perspectives and our faith and what we believe about our children, and let us parent, and don't like hide things from us that are happening in the schools, or don't host like drag shows and let our kids come without us knowing. Like, that's kind of, I mean, that's not okay. And a lot of people disagree too with letting biological men compete in women's sports. There's two really important ballot initiatives, I believe. ProtectColoradoKids.org is the website. One is, we're not going to let biological men compete in women's sports. I'm definitely on that side. I have 3 daughters. And then the other one is, you're not allowed to hide things from us as parents in the schools that are happening. If our child wants to transition or says they want to identify as a different gender, then we need to be part of that conversation as parents.
Yeah, that's fair.
The law right now, the rules that they've put in place, let them do that in secret, and that's not okay. So I think those 2 ballot initiatives are very common sense. They're reasonable, and they're a good place to draw the line. But to your point, we need to be respectful about it, have a good, healthy conversation and debate about it, not just be mean or, throw daggers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's one of the issues with this issue is that people get so emotional about it, which makes sense. But I hear a lot on the left that it's being blown out of proportion. Um, but at the end of the day, if the parents that are involved with their kids are concerned, you have to let them have the word, or the last word. So that's sort of my thought on the whole thing.
I appreciate that, Wallstreet, and I think that's where a lot of people are coming from, especially the ones that support this ballot initiative. I mean, Erin Lee, you should have her on the show to talk about what happened to her daughter. She was invited to an art club, and it ended up being a GSA club. And they convinced her that she was in the wrong body and she needed to go by a different gender, and she became very mentally ill over the
What
whole
age
thing.
was she when this happened? That's
Oh,
terrible.
small. 6th grade, I think,
Oh,
7th grade.
wow.
So Erin's the one leading this charge. And
Yeah.
Poudre Valley School District treated her horribly over it. They would not engage with her or have conversations about how to navigate it in a more healthy way. And so the whole thing was handled terribly. And that's why she's so passionate about making sure that parents are not left out of that conversation.
Yeah, especially when you're a kid, because I mean, little kids, like girls like to do boys things and boys like to do girls things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're in the wrong body. And I feel like if kids are being told that, I could see where that could be a big issue.
Yeah, and I think we've got to continue to recognize that children under the age of 18 are children. They're still developing, they're still trying to find their way. And for them to make dramatic decisions about changing their body or taking hormone blockers that can affect their entire life and their ability to have children that's crossing a big line. And I think many of us don't agree with that. And ultimately, it needs to be left to the family to decide if that's the right thing for their child or not. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
One thing I've really noticed is that Gen Z has shifted way right. And maybe this is just my perspective here. Have you seen that? And do the polls reflect that? I find that really interesting that the youngest generation are in the future going to be voting Republican.
Yeah, I'm
at
not
least compared
surprised.
to 2016.
They can't afford to live. The economy's in the tank. They're being told, exactly how to live their life. They're being scared to death over climate change, and there's not the data to prove that it's something they should be terrified about. Yes, we all want clean air and water and land, but it doesn't mean we're all going to, the earth is going to end in 5 years. And they see the hypocrisy in these people who are, hardcore climate change warriors flying their private jets all over the planet and then yelling at us for, eating meat. It's insane. And so I think they're seeing things change dramatically, and they just want to be left alone and to be able to have a family and not apologize for, being faithful or, Christians, or not apologize for wanting a nice house or the ability to eat meat. So I think it's the backlash of everything, how far things went. And I think that's where our country goes, right? America swings back and forth a bit. I just watched a really cool movie that's coming out the end of August. I got to see the premiere. It's called Reagan, and it's about the Reagan years. And I graduated high school in 84, college in 88. So I'm an 80s kid. And I just remember how much of a change it was from Carter to Reagan and the dramatic differences. And I think we're going through something similar right now.
I'm curious, just going back to the trans athlete topic, have any of your daughters ever had to compete in a sport against a biological man that's advertised for girls only or, women only?
Well, my 28-year-old was kind of ahead of that. So she was ahead of that curve. She was musical theater, so she didn't really do sports so much. My younger ones, the girls, are 14 and 12. And so they do not, I don't know that they've had to compete directly. They're both in team sports like tennis and soccer. And they have had some trans kids involved, and it hasn't been an issue. But if they were competing head to head in the Olympics and lost their first place medal, I'd be pretty fired up about it.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
And you know what, you guys, I grew up in a time where we were fighting so hard for Title IX and our right, like equal rights for young women. And to stomach watching what's happening now and all those rights kind of being deteriorated or going away, it breaks my heart. It's like, I want a level playing field for our girls, and it's not a level playing field. Biologically, men are built different and they have different muscle strengths, etc. And it's not fair. And that's where I go back to the word fair. Americans want things done fairly. And I think that's why you're seeing the uprising and the backlash on this movement.
Yeah, and I think
totally.
that's something my mom
yeah, that's
grew up
really
with
interesting. I know we said we were gonna wrap up around 5, and Wall Street is going to see Blink 182 tonight.
That's
at
fun.
Empower Field. Yeah, so do you have any other final questions, Wall Street, for Heidi before we sorry if I cut you off too, you were a little frozen there. I think I may have.
Yeah, I've been freezing a lot, so I'm sorry about that.
It's the Democrats trying to shut me up again.
Speaking to you.
Probably.
I definitely
Conspiracy.
Can you hear me?
Huh. You're very frozen.
I might be frozen here.
We can hear you now.
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. No, I was just going to say it was a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you. I'm definitely going to follow your campaign and check out the RockyMountainVoice.com. In terms of other questions, I don't think I have any. I want to say keep it up, like because of you and a bunch of other right-leaning influencers and just new people getting into politics. I think there has been a huge shift since 2016. So it's working now. It's cool to like Trump, it's never been like that before. So yeah, interesting conversation, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thanks, you guys. Just remember, this is about freedom. This is a freedom movement. We're tired of force, and we want our old way of life back here in Colorado and America. So that's what I'm fighting for. And I've been so blessed to live the American dream. I want all of you to be able to live it too. So I'm going to keep fighting for that.
Thank you, Heidi. And what was the website you mentioned too, where you're doing your work now?
It's RockyMountainVoice.com, and we send out a newsletter a few times a week, like a 5-minute read. It's pretty simple to read. Just check it out, sign up for it. There's no fees, ads, paywalls, sponsors, none of that. And then also I'm on all the social media platforms. So follow me on X or Truth Social or Facebook, Instagram, all of it. It's just at Heidi Ganahl, and would love to engage with you guys in your following.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Heidi. Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah, thank you.
Enjoy the
Very
debate.
Nice to meet you.
All right, awesome. Good job, Wall Street Bitch. Here's our out. That was great to have Heidi on. Really, I hope you enjoy Blink 182.
Sorry, I was freezing so much. It really makes it.
Yeah, you are again. But here's our outro. I don't know what's up with this app. Hopefully it comes out okay.
Yeah.
This is our outro song, Ohio by Pickle Walks. Love you, baby. Pearl tried to charge us $5,000 to have her on her podcast, so I'm just gonna post that tweet. So that's just like modern day prostitution.
I mean, that's
crazy.
That's sort of the way it goes. All
right, love you, dude. I'm gonna try to get this out tonight. Thanks for listening to the Baptize Machine.